So welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to talk about cell types and how those cells are organized in your body. So when we talk about cells, it's important to remember that they're the basic unit of life. They help us have structure and function, keep alive, eat food, reproduce, do all those things that living organisms do. The original term cell was coined by Robert Hooke when he's looking through a microscope at some cork and he saw these repeating structures, kind of like this, that repeated over and over again. And he kind of thought that he was looking down on a monk working in his cell. For us today, that might be equivalent to a prison cell, these repeating structures. And that's where the name came from, and it has stuck since then. Now, when we talk about cells and living things, they come in two different varieties. The first variety is what we call a prokaryote. Prokaryotes are generally unicellular organisms. They don't have a nucleus. In other words, all this stuff in the center of the cell is their DNA, and the DNA isn't located in a nucleus in a tight, neat little package. The DNA itself floats around. So that would be prokaryote. In general, these are considered primitive types of cells. Eukaryotes, on the other hand, are organisms who do have a nucleus. So if we look at the picture to the right, you're going to see these round structures right over here. This is where the nucleus is located, and this is where your DNA is at. And you'll notice the little holes. That's where it can send messages out into the cytoplasm through the endoplasmic reticulum to make stuff, to produce things that you need. So eukaryotes are considered more advanced. Eukaryotes would be found in us, multicellular organisms. So they have a little bit more of an advanced organization where the parts have specific places instead of just rattling around, kind of like your lunch in a bag. So if we move from prokaryotes, which were single-celled and simple, and we go to eukaryotes, which are multicellular organisms, we're going to see they're organized in a specific way. So the very most basic level of organization is the cell. And when we take the same types of cells and click them together like Legos, we create what's called tissues. So for example, if we took a sample of your lung, you would have lung tissues. These are all the same types of cell. Now, if we take a bunch of tissues and put them together, we create what's called an organ. And here's an example like your stomach. And it has specific tissues that make digestive enzymes, that have muscle tissues that help squeeze things. So it's a collection of different types of tissues working together. If we were to take a bunch of these organs that were made out of tissues with specific kinds of cells, we create what's called an organ system, like your respiratory system, that helps us exchange oxygen with our bloodstream. And it has a variety of different organs in it, from the trachea to the lungs, to do that. And last but not least, if we create a variety of different organ systems and put them together, we make the organism. So in eukaryotic creatures, we take all of these different levels and put them together to make multicellular organisms. So what specifically do some of these cells do? We'll take a little sampling here. So we have red blood cells, which, as you know, are very important to us. They clot injuries if you have a cut. Additionally, they carry oxygen throughout your body. That red color you get is because they have a heme group that bonds oxygen to that specific cell. Next, we have white blood cells. This is a very important defense mechanism in your body. And basically what happens is when pathogens enter your body, these types of cells come and help us fight off that infection. And there's a variety of different types of white blood cells. They're a lot of fun to study down the road. They have really cool names like killer cells and things like that. So that's your white blood cells. Muscle cells are really unique because they help us with movement. Now, not all muscle cells are the same. For example, if you feel the muscles on your legs, you'll know that those muscles can get tired out. They're very powerful, but if you were to go to run for a couple hours and you weren't in shape, it'd be very likely that your muscles would cramp up, you would get sore and have all kinds of pain and fatigue. Compare that to your heart, which is essentially a ball of muscle that beats every second, every minute of every day of your life, and those muscles never really get tired. They never really wear out, so they just keep going and going and going. So those cells are adapted, they have a special structure to keep moving so that you don't get muscle cramps in your heart, which would be really bad for your health. Sometimes students forget that even bones are made out of cells. So bone cells work together to give structure to the body, and their main characteristic is that they're very, very strong. Think about all the things we do with our body. We lift things, we move around, and those bone structure really helps us out with that. And last but not least are the nerve cells. Nerve cells help us transport messages throughout the body through these unique structures. So if you've ever heard anybody say, hey, you're making a connection, literally as we learn and grow, we make connections between different nerve cells in our body. And the more active you are with your mind, the more you're learning things, the more of these connections that are made between different nerve cells. The next time you put your hand on a stove and it's hot and you pull it away, that's your nerve cell functioning. So these are vital in your body. So these are just a few of the types of cells. There's many, many more that you can study in the future, but this gives us a little bit better idea of the organization of the cells in your body.